Hey, what's up, good people, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're jumping into season 4 of Titans, returning back to HBO Max November 3rd, which on that week you're going to get the first 2 episodes, and you're going to get a new episode weekly all the way into December 1st. Then you're going to get the additional 6 episode come 2023. So they're kind of breaking things up a little bit for you here. Terrell and I, we're going to be covering the first 5 episodes. We got a chance to check those out. A little bit of early screener access here to give you a non-spoiler review. Things you can expect, things we like, things we didn't like, all that good stuff. So, and if you had not checked out the previous season of Titans, I mean, and I think in all fairness, I think you possibly can get into it just now and just kind of set what it is, but I definitely think you do need to truly appreciate some of the arcs that's going on in this season. You definitely want to go back and check out the previous seasons. And I've been enjoying Titans, and I think that when Titans first launched, it was this whole thing of like, oh, it's too dark, and not by like the imagery, but like the toning, like and actually, I never thought it was too dark really until like right now is like when things are starting to feel much more dark. I thought the end of what was that? What was the Batman fight? Was that the end of season 2 or 3? I can't remember.
That was the Batman. That was like the end of season 1 where he had like the nightmare.
No, when he went into he went into Bruce's home, and they got scrappy in the basement in the Batcave.
Yeah, I swear that was season 1.
I don't know if they would have gave that on season 1. That's what I'm thinking of season 2. But either way, I think that was like the darkest of anything, because it got brutal. And there were some other things throughout the season, but nonetheless, I think that this season definitely does take a step forward in the darkness in which people always like, through the cloud over this series. But nonetheless, just to kind of give you a background of what's going on into this season, after being in Gotham and doing their thing, saving them from Scarecrow, they are now heading back to San Francisco, because that's where Titan Towers is. But before they go to San Francisco, they're going to make a quick stop in Metropolis. They also stop at Star Labs too. I should just mention that too. They go to Star Labs. They get everybody get an upgrade. Just going to say what it is, and then they go to Metropolis because Connor, he trying to meet his pappy. And upon getting to Metropolis, they get a lot more than a fatherly visit, as they become put into the crosshair of a supernatural cult with powers unlike anything they've ever faced before. And this is not a spoiler, because this news kind of came out maybe 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago about who would be the villain in this season, and who and the reason why they announced that is because I think the one thing Titans have done religiously for each season is they truly dump their money into their costume design. Like, that's where their bread and butter is at. Everybody's suit always looks top tier. And I think that suits. Every season there's been a new person with a suit. Starfire had an upgrade, her sister, last one, Nightwing, Red Hood. I mean, do you want me to keep going? And then now we got three this season. We got Jinx, we got Brother Blood, and Mother Mayhem, all with their suits, which I will say, in the first 5 episodes, we quite don't get that yet. So we still got a little bit to look forward to, but that's been announced, and that's where they really truly spend their bread and butter. But yeah, upon that announcement of those suits and who our villains was going to be, that's sort of where you can fill in the gaps between this supernatural cult and how things kind of play out. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens in terms of that, but know that these characters, even in the poster, you can see that you can get a quick hint as to what's who's actually behind the supernatural cult. Because even if you go back to season 3, you could have said, oh, it could be Trigon, but we already been down that path. Or is there still a connection here? And that's sort of where things start to come into fold in this season. So yeah, but Terrell, did my talking here. What's your thoughts about the first 5 episodes of season 4?
So, full disclosure, I do not like this show.
Okay.
I don't want to make it seem like I'm not a yes guy when it comes to reviews. I'm gonna tell you how I feel. This is not what this is. The point of the review is to express how the individual feels about the thing, not to repeat somebody else's opinion and reword it, right? I never. I gave the first. It's like one of those things where I gave the first season a chance. I watched the whole thing, and I was like, all right, I kind of want to see what happens the second season. And now I'm at where I am at now, and they continue to do the same thing. And you know, when I asked questions when I was at New York, I said you continue to find a way to eliminate or remove your characters that would have the biggest impact on the overall plot and end it within seconds every season. Last season, they had Superboy in the IT department for whatever reason. He wasn't in the field. He was in the back cave working on the computer, and they found a way to completely remove him from there. Starfire, you know, was dealing with issues with her abilities and her power, so she was completely out of the picture. Raven wasn't there last season at all, up until whatever. So and Beast Boy, he's just another IT dude who sometimes uses powers. So my biggest issue was just like, all right, they've eliminated a lot of these issues. I mean, it's story, whatever, but it's just something about it, man. It just really irritates me when it comes to the show. And then this one they're going back to season 1, which was dealing with magic, right? Yeah. That's the theme of the season. Every season is a theme. And this one is going back to magic, going back to the origins, and making Raven relevant again. And that's what I'm gonna say there, making Raven relevant again for the show. And I'm not disliking the villain, because it definitely puts them on an equal playing field, and not just some dude throwing dust in your face, making you scared of stuff, or you know, Slade, which was probably the bigger threat, but he was only a threat to probably Nightwing and Robin, because everybody else had powers. So it wouldn't have made sense as to why they wouldn't be able to stop him. But this one, it just doesn't, it still doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. And it still does that thing where a lot of the major characters still have like veils of shadow over their face, or they get mentioned, or they, for some reason, they're just not there. And I don't know if that's just a budget thing, or they just didn't have an actor, or what it is. And like you said, Superboy is supposed to meet his pappy, his father. My biggest issue, and it wasn't a big deal, but like Bruce is introduced in the show, but at no point do you see the bat suit. Do you see anything? Even the one dream sequence where we do see Batman fighting, we don't see anything. Even the Joker introduced last season, we never got a glimpse of the Joker. We see a shadow of him and things like that. But it's just certain things that I feel like the show has not evolved from season 1. The combat and everything I feel like is dope. The fight sequences and everything in the show, but in terms of story and like its characters, I just think it drops the ball every season for me. I feel like I was on a tangent for like 4 minutes.
No, it's okay. You know, when you get to talking, okay, so it definitely was not season 1 that Batman was introduced, because it was Nightwing fighting him, I believe.
We didn't officially see Bruce until season 2.
Right. So that fight did not happen until, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, the Batman thing was definitely like very like foreshadowed. Like, we saw the suit to an extent, but it wasn't really like a complete introduction of Batman. Right. Yes, we got Bruce, but we never got Batman. And yes, they do a lot of this cloning thing to really keep their budget down. And, Superman, where, he comes to meet Superman. Y'all can do the math here. I won't say it, but you can do the math here. And it's a lot of other little things that, could be a little bit annoying about this show, in terms of Beast Boy, who's one of my favorite characters.
That's something that they're actually working to correct. Like that I'm like, okay, because that was one of the questions I had too. I'm like, okay, we do a lot of this like jump behind the couch transformations on the show. Are we actually going to see, Beast Boy actually unleash and do his thing? So I'm happy to see that, my man Beast Boy is getting some help this season.
Yeah, Ron's killing it in the portrayal of Beast Boy and as Gar, and it's still just a matter of us really wanting to see this character develop into who we always knew he's coming. He's actually having, and this is part of the journey this season. It's him still trying to understand his powers. He definitely has some ups and downs this season in terms of grasping the transformations, and I think every one of the Titans has their arc. Again, you have Connor with daddy issues here, because as much as it is about Superman, it's also about Lex, who we know is in this season as well, per trailer, per news, and so on. So we know we have that going on. And I will say the portrayal of Lex, I'm digging this. This is a different feel. Yeah, different feel to Lex. Very, very careless. If not a warrior in the world was a person, it's definitely Lex in this. And they give him a really cool scene.
Scared of him.
Yeah. He definitely has a sense of like his name rings terror just by name alone. He has power and influence, and again, his introduction is kind of just like, yeah, y'all know what I am. I'm just gonna chill. Let's see. Dick. This guy, he has to be like the most chill person no matter what. He still does what he always does. Always has an answer. Always is moving the entire series storyline for it. He's really
the heart of the show. Yeah,
it's absolutely. It's dependent on whatever he thinks is the right decision. That's where the show is going. But new to this season, I would say will be Starfire, who's actually right alongside of him every single step of the way. And I think she's growing more into the leadership role. She done put last season's worries behind her. She is still tapping into her powers. To a little spoiler here, I think they said at a point in this season she's only used 10% of her actual capability. Right. So knowing that we still got a lot more in the tank for this character is going to be interesting. The suit looks dope as always, and she has some good scenes. We talked about Raven, who again, which I was upset, completely gone most of all of last season. So Raven's back, and it starts to say, what will Raven relevance be this season? And it's still not super. It's still not super relevant in terms of everything, but she's there, and I got a hunch that maybe the second half it becomes more, especially since we're dealing with the supernatural. Especially since if there's one person that understands the supernatural and what she's been through, and Trigon, it would be her. But still doesn't feel very relevant and important to everything that's kind of going on. But I will be okay to wait to see how that kind of plays out. And is there anybody else? That's the Titans there.
Yeah, that's the whole squad. I think another thing about the show that the show doesn't really feel like it's a show that exists with metahumans and aliens in it, because they've kept it so to the ground, like not try to ground it or whatever in the sense of like realism, but like to the point where like you don't really see a lot of like I don't feel like you see a lot of the fantastical in this show when it comes to like the metahumans and people with abilities. For the most part, we're just seeing like people like Dick and Hank and Dove that do their thing, and Jason coming in the scene. We don't really get a lot of the meta, and when we do, it's very limited. So I think that's another thing for me where it feels like, okay, like what is even the point of having them in this show if they're not really going to play a major part in the outcomes?
Yeah. Every time you talk, I just quickly look over to see. So it was season 1, episode 11, where Robin fights Batman. This is when Dick was still Robin, and Batman pretty much killed everybody. That's where it was like, oh, this is dark.
Hey, I remember that. So yeah, it was a nightmare sequence that they did.
Yeah,
and it didn't show him.
They never showed his face. They showed his back, and they showed everything very dark. Yeah.
It was, like I said, it wasn't until season 2 that we get the actor from Game of Thrones that was introduced as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. What do you mean it's a nightmare sequence?
So it didn't actually happen. Like he didn't actually kill anybody. That was Nightwing or whoever it was like under the influence of whatever it was.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So, I was like, it's been a while. And full transparency, these seasons aren't coming out 1 year after the next. This was when Titans was still on DC Universe. So this was,
was like 2018.
Maybe 2017, 2018 was a long time ago. So I vaguely remember how that played out. But I did remember that like Batman definitely was in the Batcave. And that was the big thing, because at the time we had not had an iteration, or we still don't have an iteration of Batman on television. Sure, we got them all on in the movies.
At least 4 or 5 Supermans. For whatever reason, they do not want to touch Batman on TV. Like he's just that iconic that we like. No, you ain't getting TV Batman unless it's animated.
Somebody who doesn't need CGI for some reation is not somebody you want to put on your
we basically had different versions of Green Arrow and various other people that are basically Batman without the suit.
Yeah.
And I understand why, for whatever reason, DC is like, nah, we're not doing live action Batman on TV. That's movies only. We can do it with Superman. It does no big deal. But yeah, man, I feel like the cast has grown, and the show has also said that the time here is also moving with us in real life. So from where they were back when the show came on to where we are now, because they actually do put a timestamp on it from 2022. It's like, okay, this has been a couple years they've been together, and this has been a while. But like I said, it's definitely to see a lot of these characters progress from, Nightwing, who had his daddy issues with Batman, and this, I remember when the show first started, it was that whole thing, F Batman, and that was like the tone of the show people was expecting. To end of season 2, where like Nightwing and Bruce squashed that whole thing. Like, he's like, you know what, you did a pretty good job. What we did. So a lot of the characters have progressed with their arcs and stuff like that, but it's just the little small stuff when it comes to Titans that it's like really annoys me. but I keep watching. So
yeah. To talk a little bit more about season 4, because totally my fault going back to the Batman and stuff. But first thing I want to say is I've never been a fan of the CGI in this show, and this season absolutely gets under my skin. It's not. Because
this season, yeah.
Oh, but I'm about to say, because every season you got the guard transformation CGI that they try to avoid, and I'm not. And when they do give you CGI, when you got Raven's abilities, when you got Starfire's abilities, and in this case now you got Mother Mayhem's abilities, Starfire's again, guard transformations, and this Anaconda that just happens to just be completely unpractical. Maybe one scene where I was like, okay, I guess I can believe that, but there's other scenes that is just like, oh, that's clearly CGI. And I guess Superboy's not bad with the heat vision.
That's about it.
But everything else is kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's a show that feels big to have a television budget, which brings me to another point, is that there have been rumors, would there be a Stargirl crossover? And there's nothing we can say about that just of yet. But with Stargirl cancellation, it's still in a means of like, will we get that? Because I think now this becomes the catalyst to making this television division of DC of the DC Extended Universe relevant. You got to get back to the crossovers. We're last season of The Flash. No more Arrow. No more, I'm about to say Days of Future Past. The Legends of Tomorrow. And no more Stargirl now. So it's just like, hey, and there's rumors for other stuff to be coming. Obviously, we got Peacemaker here and whatnot. But I think if they really want to really make this work, got Doom Patrol obviously coming in a month. But I think you got to get back to the crossovers. And that's been something everybody's been talking about in terms of, well, when will it happen? And then we're here to say like, hey, we want it too. That's as much as far as I go with that.
I think that the era of television is over, man. Because not that TV shows have never done crossover before, but to that extent where we're doing these like 5-part stories and stuff like that. Even Titans and Doom Patrol are not connected worlds or same stories. It's like they make it apparently clear, like, yeah, we're like, even though Beast Boy is introduced in the Doom Patrol episode of Titans, it's like considered like a different universe, like a different whatever. So it kind of veers off into its own thing.
Yeah. But I will say this in terms of some things I did enjoy this season. I thought that Jinx was the highlight of the first few episodes that we got. Jinx, played by, let me make sure I get her last name right, Lisa Amber Lavarna. Her portrayal of Jinx is easily must watch. The banter, the abilities, the relevance. And Jinx is brought in order to like level the playing field in terms of magic, and and Jinx keeps Dick honest. And matter of fact, Dick is catching strays left and right. That's why he's so calm and cool, because like some of the things that people are saying to him, I'm just like, man, y'all like pretty harsh out here. And Connor was kind of unloading earlier in some of his things, and Jinx comes in and do the same. So But yeah, Jinx coming on the show is definitely a highlight. And I will say, in terms of the threat, I do agree with what you said earlier. This actually feels like something they have to like actually band together to accomplish. This isn't just a wash. And we've only got half of it, and it still seemed kind of like, how's this all going to play out? But yeah, in the previous season, this definitely was a matter of like, hey, you definitely got what you need on your side. You just got to put them to work here. And it's just always been that strangeness of like, send Nightwing to face somebody that's 3 times as more skilled and powerful as him by himself. Good luck. And this is like, well, Superboy's right there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you look back at the villain roster, even like from 1 to 3, everybody they've been fighting has been like regular people. Nobody's been like a meta, except with the exception of Trigon. But Trigon was in the first season for like 5 minutes. But that whole first season, it was just them fighting, beating on regular people. Second season, same thing. Third season, same thing with Scarecrow and the crew, stuff like that. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until now that we got a magic user that has them on equal playing field, which essentially makes Raven and Superboy useless.
Yeah. Last other things I'll quickly say is, Sebastian, who's instantly introduced in this. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It's all about the journey of Sebastian, and I say in the first half of this show we see one side of this journey, and the second half I assume that we get the other side. That if you know, you know, and that is what to be expected. So that's kind of how they're branching out the two halves here in terms of what's happening. We know our threat in Mother Mayhem, but Sebastian happens to be sort of that bystander in between all of this. That if you know, you know, and we see that. I assume that other part of his story that we know will be on the second half of this season. So it's a little bit of defense in the first half for the Titans, and then I feel like it may be some offense on the second half, which to me is going to be interesting because there is a lot of names being thrown around in terms of other heroes that exist, and with those names being thrown around, they're easily relevant in the story. And I don't know, should I even mention? I mean, it's I don't think it's a spoiler here, but they mentioned John Constantine at least 3 times, and I'm just
you gotta bring him in at this point. Yeah.
So
what happened to Donna? She was in the last season.
And there's that. And then I will say the set pieces are very dope in this. Star Labs looks amazing. They did mention in our interviews at New York Comic Con that they did film some of this on the Batman set. So they used some of the set from that, and so big budget film, might as well use it if it's available there. So you will see not Gotham in that extent, but you would assume that because of that production level that you will get a good piece of production in this as well too. My absolute last thing is Tim Drake is annoying and irrelevant, and I am not saying that to just be like mean. I'm saying that because they have this character in like a almost why are you here type of thing. Like it's almost like somebody is like watching their little brother and doing like their mother or their father a solid. Like, yeah, I watch him. Y'all can go out, and he just happens to just be there, and it's kind of just like, it's only a matter of time before he gets off. He serves no relevance to the team. And does it actually get better for him? I hope, but right now it is not looking good, and it's just whatever.
It's just certain things. Look, we already in the world of fiction, but it's certain things that I could buy. Right? You pick up this dude who has 0 martial arts training whatsoever. Everybody else on the show has been training since they were kids, or at least like a teenager. There's no way he's going to keep up or be on the level. He doesn't bring anything to the team whatsoever. Other than just being there, like you said. So I had no idea when that happened at the end of the last season. I was like, "Yo, I'm done with this. I'll never watch another episode." and clearly, I lied because I'm watching this right now. But even watching the episodes that I've watched this season, he just brings nothing.
Yeah,
he's just nothing. I mean, he's just dead. I mean, no offense to the actor, like the Tim Drake, this version of Tim Drake is just there to get a check, man. And I wish he would quit because go back home. Yeah. So that's my comment there.
Yeah, so anyway, I mean, you see by the catchphrase below us, mayhem is in their blood. There is a lot of blood this season. There is some
definitely
blood splatter, blood just in random places, blood coming out of all random places, some heads being off, all sorts of bloody things are happening. So the gore is there. The gore looks okay. Actually, the gore actually looks pretty good. There's a particular scene in maybe episode 5 that is completely bloody, very disgusting. I thought it looked really well. Somebody who consumes a lot of horror, I thought it looked very well. And then, hey, don't get it twisted. blood packages absolutely cost a lot for production as well too. So it's funny that they spent money on that, but then they was like, "Oh, the CGI part, we're going to just ease up on that."
And it's on HBO Max. It's a bigger budget.
Yeah, I think
it can't be a set location because they on a bus. They're on a bus. Like, so what's the issues? They've downgraded the headquarters to a freaking RV. Yeah, and it's not even that cool.
They must have just kept things intact from the DC Universe days, and that's what it is.
They didn't know what the budget was looking like. They was like, "Look, this is what we're working with. We got to make something work." Like Nightwing, we're gonna have Nightwing in the suit at least once. So, that's about it. So
for real.
But nonetheless, at this point in the show, I just assume that everybody knows who he is, and at this point, everybody knows who Batman is, because I feel like it's just been openly talked about. Like, oh yeah, Nick, he didn't even walk around with the costume anymore. Everybody just knows. So I'm like, all right, you walking around with the Titans. The assumption is like, okay, you're clearly Nightwing. So
for real,
sorry. It's
for real.
But yeah.
Well, nonetheless, I am excited that they were able to come back for season 4. Definitely looking forward for the second half. In the world of cancellations and unknowns within the Warner Media Discovery umbrella, it's good to see that
right under the budget
back. Yep, that's for sure. But yeah, folks, you can check out Titans coming back season 4, first 2 episodes November 3rd, followed by 1 episode weekly until December 1st, and then those additional 6 episodes you can catch them in 2023. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts, your excitement, your hopes, your desires, your reviews of the previous seasons as we get ready for season 4 in just a few days. But until then, folks, we'll see you back for the second half review and a whole season recap, and we'll see how we feel indifferent from now, and then we'll go from there. And obviously we'll be back for Doom Patrol as well too. So thank you so much for tuning in for this review. Oh, for sure, Doom Patrol is whole different conversation here. But we'll be back for that as well, folks. And y'all be safe, and we'll see you then. Big gold bell.